I'm a simple man. Don't wanna complication. Complication. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Complication. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Complication. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Complication. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple plan. I'm a simple man. Don't want a complication. Complication. I'm a simple man. Don't want a complication. Complication. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Complication. Simple wanna. Simple wanna. Simple
All right, folks. Hey, good morning. We're getting some technical difficulties going here. We'll try to get this started in one piece. Hey, hope everybody survived the turkey day and didn't eat no more than me, at least. It'd be bad for you if you ate more than me, at least. But I hope everybody had a good one. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for checking in, seeing what's going on out there in the rest of the world. We got Tommy Boy 9 with us, as usual, on schedule. Easing it in here. MGB, good morning. What's happening? Hope you're doing good. Wolfie in the pack, good morning. Thanks for checking in. No doubt. Yeah, and now we get our. Let's clear this out. All right. Wes S is with us. What's going on? You are the information overlord, Wes. I saw a video last week of where a guy had driven around the Reese Air Base there, and it was pretty funny. I posted it to the G Plus, but I don't think you and Rob follow on the G Plus. But I would lie. He did a pretty good job of countering any of the rumors about what's going on there. At least, I mean, could be going on elsewhere, as they say, but it's definitely not going on there. Okay, have you got me now? You should have everything back 5x5 now, I think. All right. Sylviane, hey, good morning. How's up north there? You guys probably got a pretty decent amount of snow, I would imagine. But the weather down here in these parts, they're calling that a winter storm over there on the East Coast. Bruce, I think. They can't just call it a storm. They got to name it nowadays. But it looks like the folks out there, Walter and everybody's going to be getting some good weather with a lot of rain, actually. But the amount of snow coming in behind it. Out here, we got some good rain. What was it, last Tuesday? We got a pretty good amount of rain on Wednesday. No, I guess it was Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday, we got a pretty good amount of rain to finally kick off the in the dryness, and it was good for those fires out there in California. They helped put them out and get everybody back on the right path. But you can see Seattle's about getting deluged about right now, which is about normal. But it's all good. So has everybody been watching the invasion roll in? I think it's all been on the TV for the last 48 hours or so. I haven't got the comment on it yet, but there was a video of them hitting an area the other day, and we did a chat it's been a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years ago, and there's an old video of them storming the border down there in similar near San Ysidro once again. And we were talking about it then, and the way it went and the way it was done, and I was telling people, or we were discussing it somehow, and that is what a dry run practice looks like. It was done as a drill. And I haven't had time to go back and try to find that. I mean, that's several years ago, but there was a video done several years ago, and it looked like a practice run on the border, similar to what happened the other day. And all these stage photos aside, but see how long this video is. It looks similar to a video from a couple years ago where they ran the border as a test run, it seemed like, to challenge this, the border security or whatnot. Obviously, the situation has changed, so that may have led to different tactics this time, or maybe this was the test run to really probe and see how they could get through this. Let's get this ad out of the way here. When nobody cares. I don't think they have any audio with this. They're just showing images. And a lot of the images are coming from the Mexican side of the border. But I want to say that video that from a couple years ago was in the same area, up that steep cinder concrete embankment and running into a gap. And it was very similar done. And it seems like this was almost just like another rerun of that with more intent to get through. And I haven't heard any reports on how many people were arrested or did make it through after the tear gas was dropped on them. But yeah, at some point I'll track down that old video, and it's almost like another similar event. So the invasion seems to be going full on. Plenty of staged photos for trying to get the UN to say something. Oh, wait, what's this? This site has a lot of photos. Okay. But what do people expect? I guess I would think. You just start running wherever you think you can go, and what do you expect would happen? Trying to do another breach in the wire here. Numbers on the stock market, Tommy wants to see. Let's see if we can get through this, Tommy. We'll get to the stock market, I guess. It got crushed pretty good last week. Gregory Mannarino was doing commentary saying it could be pretty exciting. When I saw the pre-market, it was pointing in the up direction. That's a short one. So let's see what information we've got. Mexico is down to deport 500 of the migrants in Tijuana. Mexican authorities have contained the protests at the crossing between Tijuana and San Diego. Yeah, all the ports have been closed now for some time yesterday. I don't know if they might see if they actually reopened. More video on the Mexican side. And there's pictures, I guess, after they close the border after a certain period of time. Good thing it's not summer. I'd hate to be out in that line in the middle of summer. What's going on in the side chat here? Tommy Boy will catch up to the stock market here. Hey, Walter, good morning. Looks like you're a little wet this morning. Rooster Cogburn's with us. Good morning. Hopefully that smoke is cleared out. You should be good to go now, right? Bug Out Bubba's with us. Good morning. They reopened the border checkpoint, right? Okay. Tommy Boy, they say the kids were thrown around in the bum rush, but you don't see it. Yeah, if you're trying to bring your kid here for an asylum, you shouldn't be trying to run no breaches to the border. At this, you're just putting everybody in danger. You should know that. There's obviously a line to get in, but that's not the agenda. Somebody's in there stoking their fires, saying, all you got to do is get your foot over there and claim asylum, no matter how you do it. And they're encouraging them to go around other means. Because it's too slow. You can't, because they're only processing 100 a day, maybe if they're lucky, and everybody's impatient, not because they know Mexico's getting tired of them being down there, and they're getting ready to deport them out of Mexico, I would say. So somebody's over there stoking their ideas of how to get into the U.S. so they can do that, and it's just going to go downhill from there. There's definitely somebody behind it all, I think, because nobody that has made that journey would think, I'm just going to bum rush over here and it'll be okay. So thus, such is the situation. There's Mexican police clearing out the checkpoint, it looks like. Hey, Alicia, good morning. What's going on? Walter says if they really wanted to be Americans, they would gladly stand in line all summer. Yeah, they definitely, they've been coddled so much to this point with free rides to the border and free food and everything else on the way up here. Those people without borders folks have given them a false impression and are probably some of the ones just telling them all you got to do is get in the U.S. by any means and encourage them to do stupid stuff like this. Because some of them just don't know, and they probably don't have ill intent. A lot of them don't, but some probably do. And that's probably some ringleaders, too, that are nefarious types, have a illegal activity in mind that are going to lead the charge on that because they got other avenues to take. They're not have no intent on seeking asylum for many of them that would do that. So there was those video. I guess there's more headed, of course. We know that there's 3 different waves of the invasion force, caravan, quote unquote. Breitbart has an article on the additional 5,000 are already. There's more that are expected to arrive in addition to the 5,000 who are already there. And Tijuana's getting fed up. That's going to cause big times problem on the Tijuana side. They say there are more coming in addition to the 5,000, which we expected. So the arrival of the new caravan comes just hours after the group tried to rush the border. That's kind of short. They don't estimate the size of the other wave, but they do expect thousands of additional, and we would expect that, I think. I don't know, Tommy Boy, what's going on in your Wall Street side since you were so anxious? It hasn't even opened yet. Never mind. But it's everything's pointing up for you, Tommy Boy. So you'll still get your you'll still be getting your Social Security check and everything. It looks like for the time being. Did any get it through, Alicia? That's the big $1,000 question because nobody addresses that, and I don't think the Border Customs Border Patrol has issued any statement on that. But I haven't heard of any being arrested. So, except on the Mexican side, some were arrested on the Mexican side for leading the charge, I guess you'd say, being a part of that, trying to breach. Mexico said they were going to arrest up to 500. Which probably more like 100. Here's a statement. Mexico's Interior Ministry said that the country has sent 11,000 Central Americans back to their country since October 19th. It said that 1,906 of them were members of the recent caravans. Mexico is on track to send a total of around 100,000 Central Americans back home by the end of this year. There's some numbers. Yeah, processing fewer than 100 people per day for asylum. And many of them won't qualify for asylum anyway. And they were offered asylum at many stages along the way, but they refuse. So yeah, Mexico vowed to deport about 500 who tried to get across the border yesterday. Yeah, so that, not arrest. I guess they were going to deport the 500. I guess they identified in the ringleaders of this initial push. But if I can ever find it, this action really mirrors something that was done a couple years ago that we looked at as a test run drill on that border area down there several years ago. And if I ever find it, I'll bring that up and discuss the similarities. But I'm sure somebody saw that and thought it was a good idea, even if it wasn't the same people leading it. But what else is going on up there? Hey, Chris, Land of Landon Land. What's going on, man? You enjoying your Christmas parades and whatnot? Everybody's getting ready for that time of year. Cookies 2050. Good morning. That's copyrighted too. Noted. Morning, Barry Wood. And it looks like it's a little wet up your way. Same with you, Food Forest. Good morning. How you doing? Definitely raining cats and dogs. Yeah, that's what it looked like on the overhead this morning. A little brutal for you up there. You in the Northeast are all getting doused. But also on the border deal, there's a YouTube channel, Locked and Loaded 100%. If you check in with them every now and then, he's committed to going to New Mexico with somebody else because, and we've talked about it, there's not a lot of coverage. We know there's a little bit in Arizona, Texas, but New Mexico and some of those Arizona areas, it's definitely wide open, and they are going to New Mexico. So he's put out several videos on that, and they're looking to go down there to do their duty and do some recording as well, do some documentation of the whole ordeal and what's going on down there. But see if I can find a link to his channel. If you're not familiar, he checks in on the chat every now and then. Been around a while. But it'd be definitely get a different perspective from these main ports of entry like California and what's going on in some of the rural areas of not California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, all of it, to see how it might be different. When we were watching the video of the people in Campo who were regularly at the border doing border watching stuff, they were saying it was getting really things were getting more busy before the caravan got there, because everybody was trying to get across, because they were in fear that the U.S. is going to lock down their border as this thing starts boiling over. So everybody's trying to make their move now instead of waiting for things to go bad, I guess you'd say, which is always a good call. So it was pushing the people who normally come across either legally or illegally to come across early or rush it, because they were fearful that what's just happened in San Ysidro happened. They locked down the border. So here's Locked and Loaded's channel. You could check out what they're doing, planning to go to New Mexico. Put that in the side chat. I'll put it on the description box as well here for future reference. We'll follow. Hopefully get some, if nothing else, they'll do video after they get back, chop it all together. I don't know if they'll do anything, what their plan is for putting out videos while they're down there, but that's in the works for them. I guess they have a point of contact or whatever there to help host and whatnot. But Mexico is one of those places, and one of the big problems in Mexico, it's been documented, is they've put that national monument status over one large strip of territory along the border, which made it very difficult to patrol, because the Border Patrol couldn't go into the vehicles or anything along that area. And I remember that was one of the big deals several years ago when they declared that status there, that was basically a wide open 100-mile incursion into the state from Mexico, because it's real rural and it's real open, but it's an easy doorway into moving up into the states through that area. People have talked about it since, but I do remember that. Cookies. Yeah, okay. You were watching Santilli. He did a decent on the border thing. Everybody has their day, right? I haven't watched Pete in quite a while. Bug Out Bubba wants to know what's the UN saying about all this. Well, of course, they're very distraught. Bug Out. They think the UN said weeks ago that we should accept them all into the country without question. They should all be granted asylum, which doesn't make any sense. There's Walter Davis giving you a little more info. Locked and Loaded went to reinforce the Constitutional Patriots Militia. Yeah, that there was a group there he was going with. Yeah, there you go. So Walter's been paying attention with some specifics. But yeah, they're looking at doing that. And it's not just him. He's got another couple going with him or whatever that he knows. But the UN has definitely come out in favor of the invasion force and against the borders. That's for sure. But we'll see how that plays out. Continues to go. So other than the border, what else is going on? The Ukraine and Russia are apparently getting ready to ramp things up again. Something happened here, and I missed it. And I was checking here on Zero Hedge. Looks like they might have a little bit of more information. But yeah, checked in yesterday on some things, and it's like Russia and Ukraine are all on the verge of war. Like, why? What happened here? Is it more of the EU-backed government trying to stoke the thing in Russia for who knows why? I think the EU's still upset their coup didn't work the first time. Russia kept its port and everything. Yeah, so seemingly out of nowhere, right? Seemingly out of nowhere, as agreed. A diplomatic crisis has erupted between Ukraine and Russia after Russia detained 3 Ukrainian ships, which it said had been maneuvering dangerously near the Kerch Strait, choke point controlled by Russia, which separates the Sea of Azov from the Black Sea. In response to what he decried as unprovoked Russian aggression, increasingly unpopular Ukrainian President Poroshenko signed a declaration on Monday to declare martial law for 60 days through January 26th. Well, that sounds like he's just waiting for an opportunity to do that. So it looks like the EU is supporting their good little dictator in this. He also started mobilizing the Ukrainian army despite the martial law order still needing approval of the country's parliament. It's kind of weird to have to ask for permission to do martial law. Usually they just do it. So let's see what else. Let's scroll down here. As the UN calls an emergency meeting of the Security Council to be held on Monday, Russia is resisting international demands to release the 2 Ukrainian artillery boats and the tugboat, which it seized after firing on the ships and ramming one of them. And you can see the graphic there, real narrow, straight. Let's see how this graphic blows up. Interesting. It's not near their main port here. It's more entry into the one area back here where the incident occurred, which by Russian account, with Crimea being annexed, this is all Russian waters over here. Interesting. So the Ukrainian boats are a long way from home. Back to the... Kiev has maintained that Russia was notified ahead of time that the ships were approaching the strait and denied its ships had done anything wrong. Russia says the ships disobeyed orders to halt. Moscow has accused Ukraine of staging the armed provocation, presumably to allow Poroshenko to impose martial law and possibly delay a March election. That sounds like a good thing a dictator would do. I'll declare martial law so I can't lose in the election. Fortunately for Ukraine, declaring martial law won't jeopardize its $1 billion IMF bailout, which is what started all this mess to begin with. International banks wanted to get their fingers in Ukraine with a bailout, and they got their way. A bilateral treaty allows both Russia and Ukraine to use the Sea of Azov, access to which is tightly controlled by Russia, which built a land bridge over the Kerch Strait. Oh, there's a land bridge over that. That'd be pretty impressive. It's a pretty big area. The only egress from the sea after the annexation of Crimea in 2014. Ukraine is still bitter over the annexation, of course, and has accused Russia of supporting a pro-Russian insurgency in the country's east. Probably. After briefly closing the strait following the incident, Russia has again opened it to traffic. Russian security agency, the FSB, has said 3 Ukrainian sailors had been wounded when the ships fired and rammed their Ukrainian counterparts. Though none of these injuries were said to be life-threatening, men dressed in Russian Navy uniforms could be seen guarding the ships on Monday as they're being held at the Russian port near Crimea, not far from where the Russia's Black Sea Fleet is stationed. While European officials have urged both sides to exercise restraint, the incident shows just how easily Russia and the West could be drawn into a military conflict over Ukraine. While it appears a shooting war has been averted for now, at least the mobilization of Ukrainian troops on its border with Russia certainly doesn't bode well for peace. The incident has sent the Russian ruble sliding against the dollar as the sanction fears join concerns about the recent dramatic slump in global oil prices. I guess this is the video of the ramming here. The third straight crisis started. Anybody translate Russian? I'd let it. I think they're putting warnings out. Somebody's getting rammed. Just a tiny tap. Can't figure out which one's Russian, which one's Ukrainian. There's somebody's flying a flag. I would think the smaller boat was the Russian patrol boat. Russian Coast Guard boats attacked a Ukrainian tugboat. Or maybe that was the Ukrainian Navy tugboat, the small one. And Gurza M-class boats escorting it. The Don rammed into the Ukrainian tugboat. So I guess that small boat there was the Ukrainian tugboat in that video. Interesting. That'll all start everybody getting all flustered. It's not even like a Polish border station got murdered. It's not even anything that serious. Such is the way of world wars, right? At least it's live on video. Well, it's got what's on there? Well, I missed a lot here on the side chat. Yeah. Walter Davis would go to the border. Yeah, well, if money was no object, Walter, I do believe we'd all put in some time. Great video on the ship, says Food Forest. Is there another one other than this one? This is the only one I think they have here on the Zero Hedge. Yeah, I'm sure there's others out there, but that's a pretty good video. Now, if I could speak Russian, it'd be even better. But it looks like the small boat getting rammed there is a Ukrainian boat. They're announcing warnings over the loudspeakers and everything like that. UN Special Assembly starting soon. Roger, they're going to talk. I'm sure they'll hash this out. Food Force says, put you in a circle and then the fighting begins. Right, everybody's going to blow it out of proportion to what it really was. No, everybody's going to point fingers. Nobody wants to, very rarely does it get de-escalated, right? Hey, Jay Sparks, how you doing this morning? Hope it finds you safe and dry. I know you got some pretty good downpours, which is good, but the living situation gets a little messy when it's that wet outside. Hopefully you found something more permanent. Put up a video when you get a chance. Or I may have missed it this weekend. I have been off the radar. So if you did anything, let us know. Thanks for checking in. UK Parliament is debating martial law as we speak. The UK, Speedy Pete, thanks for checking in. Is this over the whole Brexit thing? They're still talking about another martial law. Yeah, I know Tommy Robinson. We're talking about doing a protest here coming up this weekend. They were they did a video. They were talking about the new protests coming up because the UK leaders weren't honoring the Brexit deal or putting forth a Brexit deal of any benefit. Basically, they're going to call it Brexit, but they're not actually doing anything that's going to change the relationship between them and the EU. In reality, it's they're going to make excuses to drag their feet and drag it out. But interesting, debating martial law. Oh goodness. There you go, Food Forest. It's exactly right. Bring your gold to Switzerland. They give you paper. That's Nevada's biggest problem. Nevada's biggest export goes to Switzerland in the form of gold. It goes straight from here right to Switzerland. You're exactly right. We have traded away our resources. Exactly right. Yeah, I know you got your motorhome, Jay Sparks, but it's messy. But I hope you're doing good, man. Hey, Tommy Boy 9, Locked and Loaded is on RTNN. Okay, cool. Right on. And when he mentioned that RKTNN thing, I wasn't familiar with that. I don't think I'm tuned into them. But apparently they're on that channel right now. On a call, getting the word out, spreading the word. We'll definitely have to keep tuning into that. So what else is going on out there? We know the stock market is perilous, especially for this time of year. It usually calms down after when you get close to Thanksgiving, but it had some of its worst weeks right before Thanksgiving, which is kind of unusual. After it takes those October hits, they usually calm down because everybody's getting ready for all the holidays and everything. And it didn't appear to go that way this year. Permanently close the southern border if needed. It might be needed, but that's going to really affect the economy of like San Diego and places like that. It's really going to have a hard time. So Ukraine has declared martial law. This is an older article. They may declare martial law, looks like, just a couple hours ago. Russia's beating the war drum, or Britain's beating the war drum. Russia's indisputably a greater threat than ISIS and Al-Qaeda. British Army chief warns. So they're raising that specter again of the Russians. I wonder what they're distracting from on that deal. Congressionally mandated new report urges massive U.S. military increases, which is the last thing we need. Oh my goodness, stolen money after bad. This is just gotta get that military industrial complex built up. I'm sure that's going towards. Everybody thinks that the average guy on the ground's going to get better equipment and better living and better get paid more, and none of it's going to them. It's all going to big corporations to build stuff that nobody needs. These super cush contracts and stuff. So this is interesting. Let's see what we got going on here. Commission on National Defense Strategy for the U.S. is released to Congress Its report providing for the common defense as if they're defending anything. Goodness. Not exactly, right? In the National Defense Authorization Act, our favorite NDAA of 2017, Congress charged this commission with providing an independent, nonpartisan review of the 2018 in national defense strategy and issues of U.S. defense strategy and policy more broadly. I wonder how nonpartisan it could have been. The report's co-chairs Eric Edelman and Gary Roughead said in their accompanying letter to Congress that the United States will soon face a national security emergency. It doesn't describe that emergency, but uses it to argue that defense spending, this is their argument, defense spending needs to soar and all other spending by the government, especially for Social Security, Medicare, and other entitlements, needs to shrink. These guys are fools. That's not good news for you, right, Tommy boy? Taxes need to increase so that this emergency can be dealt with. They say that the weapons manufacturers and soldiers need more money and that this military requirement is an emergency, but other federal spending is not. The executive summary says rivals and adversaries are challenging the United States on many fronts and in many domains. America's ability to defend its allies, its partners, and its own vital interest is increasingly in doubt if the nation does not act promptly to... So these guys are going full on for the military state. No two ways about it. Document strongly urges expansion of the U.S. regime's policing of the world in the interest of America's international corporations, which is exactly the opposite of what we need to do. So it's got a breakdown of the report here. It looks like excerpts from it. But you can imagine how it goes into detail about how miserable the military is, I guess. If we didn't have them all spread throughout the world doing things they're not supposed to do, it probably wouldn't be so bad. Common defense, huh? And Congress is going to beat this up and still pass something that won't be... Congress will pass something. It won't be as much as mentioned in here, but they'll pass an increase of some sort, and nobody else say boo about it because it's for the troops, right? And here's a commentary from the... Well, who wrote this? Hold on. I think Zero Hedge just shared it. Author Eric Zuis via the Strategic Culture Foundation. ZUSI. So Zero Hedge is just sharing it. But the conclusion, that's whom America's troops are actually fighting for, the owners and their executives. People who want more money and don't care about the millions of people around the world that they help to kill and the millions of others whose continuing lives they make hellish, including some destitute Americans who need the social services that will be cut in order to fund purchases of more bombs and missiles. America's masters today are such psychopaths as this. Even 46% of the entire world's military budget isn't enough to satisfy them. Exactly. Like, how much more could you possibly need? Yeah, they want it all. Because how else can you control the population unless you have a system built to control it? So that's going to be coming down for the next budget, some sort of increase that will do nothing to improve our defense, but will be used to project control over many different parts of the world, especially with the petrodollar coming to a slow end. They're going to have to find more creative ways to keep people in line, I guess you'd say. That's bad. Switzerland just voted against sovereignty, says HRM. Welcome, HRM. Sovereignty for themselves? I don't understand what... I mean, Switzerland's been sovereign for a long... I mean, what do you speak of, HRM? Thanks for putting that in there, but I'm not sure why they were voting or when they voted. Did they decide to join the EU or something, or to go with the EU as their currency, or wasn't aware that they were doing such a thing? Interesting. Jay Sparks is making a video update later today. Excellent. I'd appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. Right. Russian seizures Ukrainian warships, kind of out of the Hitler playbook, says HRM. Yeah, we were just watching one of the videos, HRM. It's kind of a pretty low-key event in the big scope of, boats and things. But Ukraine's definitely ramping it up for more than it is. Ukraine's definitely making a big deal out of it. Tommy Boy, they're showing a clip where they let loose the smoke bombs and bullets. Are you talking about the UN Security Council meeting? Are they showing that live? They're showing the UN Security Council on TV? That would be kind of unusual. Or is it online somewhere? Did I lose? It looks like a lot of people that should have wrenches have lost their wrench. Am I right? Time Boy, you used to have a wrench? I was thinking you did. All right, Food Force, have a good day. Stay out of that rain. And the Bamboo Telegraph. The Bamboo Telegraph. All right. More caravans are coming. Exactly, Tommy Boy. More are coming. Vanessa Kitty, good morning. Welcome. Oh, RKTN is showing the. Are you talking about with the migrant at the border where they throw the gas and it was rubber? It wasn't even what bullets. I don't think there was any bullets fired. I think they fired pepper balls basically out of basically riot control agents out of basically paintball guns, for lack of a better description. I don't think there was actually any rounds, no actual bullets fired. Bad terminology if anybody's saying that bullets were flying. Okay, Food Forest Bamboo Telly is word of mouth. I've got you. I'd never heard it called that. But vicious rumors can go word of mouth too. It's kind of tough to decipher the two sometimes. Somebody says they had a friend that saw it, and by the time it gets to the end, is like your nephew's cousin's third uncle, twice removed, had witnessed it, and then it's just no better than what you see on the regular TV. The Chinese credit score on social monitoring has been quite a bit in the news and a lot of the different circles. Definitely check that out. That's definitely some Orwellian stuff. China's the perfect test bed and good place to test the technology, and then they can just implement it everywhere else. See how Tommy Boy's markets are doing. Checking in with the Dow jumps 350 points. Retailers rise. Really? Did retailers come out with any reports on Black Friday? Stocks surged on Monday as shares have beaten down tech shares. Retailers climbed on Black Friday sales. Really? That's interesting. There were strong Black Friday sales. The only thing I saw getting bought on Black Friday was ammo. There's a good, where's that meme at? I gotta find that. But that's interesting. It didn't seem like it was all that impactful for what was going on Friday. But I guess in the big cities, you see all that video of the madness and everything. That it just kind of applies to the majority of the country. Hey, Alicia, have a good day. Thanks for checking in. And I'm behind on your videos, Alicia. Sorry. Alicia pumps out like one a day. It's hard to keep up. Let me find that. HRM, if you get any more rain, you're going to have to grow. Um, let's see. There it is. It's talking about, it says respectable gun owners never shot up with mobs on Black Friday, and then ammo goes on sale, rushing right to the ammo store, right? That was kind of the situation on Monday. The thing is, it wasn't even, there was still plenty to go around. There wasn't even like enough people to account for what they had on sale. If it had the money, could have bought a lot more with no issues. North Carolina will top 100 inches of annual rainfall this year. Holy cow. That's insane. That's like tropical rainfall levels right there, HRM. No doubt. Yeah, I think I must have missed the clip where Justin shared the link for that RKTNN thing. I'm going to have to go over and check that out. So I can catch up on the information. Um, Anything else going on out in anybody else's backyard? Got any first-hand information? Am I seeing any troop movements and tanks and everything? Start some other rumors going around. But that is a lot of rain, HRM. Is that basically the results of the hurricane? Well, basically two hurricanes, right? Rolling through the majority of that. I've noticed that Hibernia's son is back on the YouTube. He's done a couple of videos the last couple of weeks. If you were subscribed to his channel before, he's done a couple that go check out. Check back in with him. He, you know how YouTube does a lot of times. A channel like that doesn't do a video in a while. You might get unsubscribed or something. Go check Irish back out if you were so inclined. Always good stuff out of there. Well, if I can find go back to the channel here. How big is that RKTN channel there, Tommy Boy? HRM reports no Air Force or Marine Corps movement there. Or nothing out of the ordinary. There's probably always movement, right? Yeah, which video was it where Justin shared that channel link? Let me find this, see here. Tommy Boy, can you drop a link to that, what you're watching in the side chat? Okay, I see. Did Justin ever link to that channel? I guess I was have to type it in to find it. I don't do it the easy way. Do it the hard way. Right? All right. All right. We got it. I guess a search is always easier. I'll share the link to that. Be in the description box. The live stream they got going right now. Oh, is Justin on right now? Or just looks like the host? Oh, he just ended. So they just ended, but I want to put the link in the description box. If anyone wants to catch up with them and rewind for later. Looks like they were on for about an hour, been on just about as long as we have. So unfortunately, we overlapped. So we'll have to go check that out. So it looks like they just ended that live stream, but got about several bullet points here he was talking about. Migrant caravan claims to have human rights given to them by United Nations. Attempt to cross the border on November 25th. So that happened. I guess it's a timeline of events. Donald Trump shows military force at the border. Trump grants new authority to troops to protect themselves. Border Patrol personnel. Tank spotted in Louisiana. We've talked about that. Mexican citizens are starting to prepare for the migrant caravan. So he's got a series of bullet points, I guess they discuss along with that. But Justin was on here, you said, right, Tommy Boy? So see how they discuss that later on. They had to go, be back in an hour from now. Okay. So they're going to check back in an hour. Roger. All right. With that being said, I guess we'll check out. Always something going on to keep an eye on. Stoking the fire in Ukraine for some reason with war talk, maybe to distract from the Brexit and all the other problems economically in the EU. Could be one of those reasons. But as they say, prep now, stock up. Get ammo while you can, right? Yeah, Tommy Boy, I'd never heard of it until Justin mentioned it, but there's a million YouTube channels out there, so looks like I do pretty well. Looks like he's got 20,000 subscribers or so that's good. Getting the word out, discussing things. Hey, Locked and Loaded, we were just talking about you. Hey, Justin, yeah, we're just talking about you being on that other channel. I didn't know we're going to be live over there. I guess you called in, so we'll go back and watch it. We talked a little bit earlier about going to New Mexico and whatnot. So keep us updated on what's going on for sure. Tommy's like triple tasking, watching the stock market, listening to you and listening to here and everything else. No, we're just spreading the word, Justin. We weren't talking bad. We just thought how you going to the border and helping out with the group down there and whatnot. It's one of the uncovered areas for the most part. And just some of the challenges with New Mexico in particular, as you've probably studied a little bit, is that big national monument they made down there, which makes it difficult to patrol the border for even the Border Patrol because they can't take vehicles through there. So it's a whole big swath of the hundreds of miles that are uncovered that even go 100 miles deep into New Mexico. So it makes it hard to cover that. But definitely drink your water, Justin. It's going to be warmer than you think, and it's going to be real, real dry. But hopefully get some good link up down there and get some good discussions and help out in any way you can, like they say. Pretty awesome. Wow, oil is down to 51, just under $52. That's crazy. You bringing a bunch of Pedialyte? I don't know if I'd go that extreme. You plan on passing out? That's you only need Pedialyte if you go down and out. Stay ahead of the game. Just drink your water and eat good. You'll be all right. But enjoy your trip for sure. All right, folks, we're going to punch out. Have a good day. Kicking off after surviving Thanksgiving. Have a good one. Keep an eye on everything as best we can. See if the Ukraine decides to stick its thumb at the Russian bear or not. Looks like to be the thing on top of the radar here. So we'll be seeing what we can find from original sources, trying to avoid the war drums there. So have a good one, folks. We'll talk to you later. Live free.